This is the Draft Season Podcast. It is your boy Young Raz coming live, I guess, from where I often do. I am by coastal pretty much. We are in Los Angeles for the Super Bowl Media Week. I'm here with Rise Network. I'm with my boy Sean 5K. Please talk to him.
You already know, man. The brand is stronger than ever. Draft Season Podcast. We out here at Radio Road Day One, about to bring you guys this content, touching the airwaves again, first time in a minute. We got a lot to talk about. NBA rumors going wild. The Super Bowl is coming up. There's a lot to discuss. We got to recap conference championship games. My Bengals in the Super Bowl.
His Bengals.
My Bengals. My Bengals. You know what I'm saying? Check the tape. We will get into that, Raz. But I'm not like we could pull up the tape, and I love whenever we see these graphics of the graphics, NFL Network, ESPN, when they're actually choosing the games, and it's always like 7-1 on teams when they're picking the games. I had the Bengals in the Super Bowl. We could pull the tape up. I had that, Raz. I also did have the Cardinals, but you know what I'm saying. I was looking at the right division at least.
Okay. Look. I'm not here to disparage your past Super Bowl picks. Let's say for what it is. This is a big week for the Draft Season Podcast. We are here on radio.
Stronger than ever.
We here push through no matter what. But we got to get into it with the Rooney Rule. Last week Brian Flores really dropped a bomb on the NFL. Not really a bomb to the general public because we already knew what the hell was going on with that. The lack of black representation among the coaching staff is crazy. We see black coaches get fired at a higher rate, hired at a less rate. So you already know how those numbers add up to. But I mean, what are your takes on what Brian Flores ended up doing?
He just went straight for the gusto. I mean, like you said, it wasn't really a surprise about anything that's going on with Brian Flores. He kind of just said the quiet part out loud for the nation to really get behind. I mean, we're going back, and there's a lot to discuss just about the whole Brian Flores thing. And I mean, first of all, we could just laugh at old people using technology for one. I just want to start there. Um, because yeah, Bill Belichick actually ruining everything that has to do with or basically being the reason for Brian Flores lawsuit because he sent, what I'm saying, a text to the wrong person is incredibly hilarious for a litany of reasons.
Do you think it's the? Do you think? Do you think it's the?
We got parents, we got moms, dad. They're not great with technology.
Nah.
So I spent a good 25 minutes just laughing at Bill. And what's the funny thing? I mean, for old people in general, like save people with their full names in your phones. That's the best advice I give to anybody out here.
So, do you think it was the Larry David, fake text, the fake accidental test? Because like, if I could see Bill Belichick being that calculated to really screw over the Giants. A team that's beaten him twice in the Super Bowl. I mean, he's previously employed by the Giants, so I don't see if he would have any.
I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, but I wouldn't rule it out.
I wouldn't rule it out. Belichick does seem like a pretty decisive, a spiteful type of individual. He's definitely not over those those two Super Bowl losses, and he's definitely not over, what I'm saying, just his past and his experience with the Giants in general. So I'm not putting that past him, but all right, Raz. So what was really your takeaway? Or like, I mean, I feel like a lot of it just goes without saying when we get into the Brian Flores thing. I don't think will he ever coach again in the NFL? Debatable. I would also like to say, just in general, like while we're on the topic, just about like Brian Flores, like the optics of it, of just the lawsuit, don't look great because obviously he did the media tour afterwards. You know what I'm saying? He did the whole car wash. You know what I'm saying? Good Morning America. He was on ESPN, CNN, the whole nine. He was everywhere. But something about the optics just rung a little hollow. And it's just like, bro, you're doing a lawsuit about unfairness of race. You pulled up with your white lawyer. I'm not like just in general about that. I feel like the message could have hit a little stronger just about if we're talking about messaging and who who he has to relay that message for him.
Yeah.
Just in terms of really getting that through. I think that's one thing that really, like, if we're just talking about connected for Brian Flores, that's one thing when you really I actually read the lawsuit as well, and a lot of that stuff I'm not sure how it will play in court.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is on the burden of his legal team to prove, right? And how is he going to be able to prove a lot of that stuff? I mean, the smoking gun obviously is the Bill Belichick text, so like that's his in there. But I mean, this stuff is going to be hard to prove, and do we trust the NFL to fully investigate it?
No,
because it's like
no,
if
no.
the NFL goes and actually investigates something like that, right? Now we're looking at them having to really take a look in the mirror and upheal the whole system. And what are you going to do? You're going to pull a David Stern or Adam Silver, I'm sorry, and force out, like, because of this hiring practice? Like, that's very hard to do. Like, you're dealing with people, they actually own these teams. How are you going to push them out for something like that?
Yeah, and like has been said in the past about, like, we know Roger Goodell works for the owners.
Yeah.
So he's behind the 8 ball when it comes to all of this stuff. And obviously, I don't want to talk about this for too long because I don't think it's that con. But like, we could talk about the Lovie Smith actual signing with the Texans and things of that nature. We just kind of seen, you know what I'm saying? They did a token head coach thing for a year with David Culley previously, and it just feels like the same thing going on. I mean, just in terms of the NFL and what's going on out here, I think in general, and we saw the reaction to some of the press releases that they put out early in the week, calling some of the claims unfounded, and even before they really had any time to really, you know what I'm saying, look into the actual claims from Brian Flores. But there's a lot going on just about in Florida. I mean, with the Dolphins as well, with that team, and you know what I'm saying, just Stephen Ross, the general owner of the Dolphins, and what he went through on that side, and just really in general what he, you know what I'm saying. I think we talk about the black coaches, and sometimes they get the short straw or the short end of the stick, however you want to run that cliche. And yeah, it's funny because obviously it seems like the owner wanted to tank for Joe Burrow, but you know what I'm saying, from Brian Flores' perspective, at least, I could definitely understand. He has no background on that end. You know what I'm saying? If he follows Stephen Ross's objective and he goes, all right, bet I'm gonna just tank, they probably end up with Joe Burrow and he gets fired the same offseason as well. So it's an interesting situation. And to the point where, you know what I'm saying, I think everybody knows the NFL needs to do better just about of their hiring practices. I think just in general of the real issue that's really going on with the NFL when we talk about it is just the tightness of these circles and the nepotism that runs heavily through these hiring practices for the NFL. We've seen Nathaniel Hackett get hired by the Broncos. His father was a long time coach in the league. Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, obviously that tree. And that's kind of the most disencouraging thing, or the thing that probably brings the most pause for me, at least, because these owners have made billions in other fields, and you know what I'm saying, they're pretty stuck in their ways when it comes to actually, you know what I'm saying, doing what they consider proper hiring practices. So I think the NFL is going to be interesting to see what goes on further with the league, but drastic changes needs to be happening. Brian Flores deserves to be a coach in the league, and we can talk about the endless amount of NFL coaches that, or just black coaches who've got a raw deal. And I think, you know, Jim Caldwell comes to mind for me, at least.
Yeah.
Somebody has a long track record, and we talk about the league being out.
Morris is one of
I mean, Raheem Morris sucked when he was on the Bucks, but the you know what I'm saying, just the actual the leeway, and you know what I'm saying, the evaluation process is it's kind of obvious when we talk about just the NFL. And you know what I'm saying, when they get these guys and they just hire them to be fall men. So the league has a long way to and I think just in terms of Raz, we talk about it, and we talk about what makes a good coach and relating to your players. And if you played sports, you can relate to these type of things. And this is not to say that it's only black coaches that can relate to black players. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to, it's a communication thing. Can you communicate with young players ages, you know what I'm saying, you're getting guys age 21 to to 30, really. And it's your job to, you know what I'm saying, enrich them, you know what I'm saying, get them to run through that wall for you. And I just in general, a lot of these organizations do really poor jobs. And like, we haven't even spoke about this actually. And my long-winded ass, just to wrap this point up, the most interesting part of the whole Flores saga that really broke from this is the fact that Stephen Ross said he was going to pay him 100 racks per loss during the regular season. Like, to me, that's the most craziest part about it. Obviously, sports gambling can become illegal everywhere, and like I said, it's a secret that we know. Every teams don't give a flying fuck about win-loss record. You know what I'm saying? The real win-loss record is net income. Are you in the black or not?
So I'll say this, in terms of like the tanking, how will we be able to do that? We're gonna need some correspondence. I don't think Stephen Ross would be stupid enough to put that in writing. I don't think that's something that would happen. I'm hoping his ass would have done that so we can really nail him on that. But Brian Flores seems to be a man of integrity, because a lot of weaker people would have been out here like Joe Judge, quarterback sneaks on second down, 2nd and 9. You feel me? So it's just like 100. You lose a couple games, you got $1 million, you're good. So I mean, Brian Flores obviously deserves to be a coach in this league. I think to end on this point is, I think the funniest thing about it is the troll job done by Stephen Ross after, with his hiring of Mike McDaniel, who perhaps he does deserve a coaching job, right? But for him to be the first minority hire of the hiring cycle, as he identifies as multiracial, I think it's just the humor in it is just incredible. And I think you have to, I have to admire a good troll job. And Stephen Ross, you top tier with that. I think you need to understand that, Mike McDaniel looks like Logic. And for the rest of us, for the rest of us,
he do look like Logic.
He like Logic, right? And Logic tells us all the time he's black. We don't believe you.
No, we don't believe Logic.
Logic, you whatever it is, with your rapping, you rap okay. I'm not listening to you, but there's people that do listen to you, and God bless them, I would say. But I would think, from there, Mike McDaniel, stop playing in my face, bro. You are a Logic looking brother, probably a good football mind, and I wish you the best. But you're not here to be the first biracial. I mean, what are you, black? Are they saying he's black? Is black?
I don't know what they said about it. They said he was multiracial, that's a new one.
So like the NFL's back with the one drop rule, bro. It's like you gotta drop an ounce of black blood, you gotta sit in the back of the bus. So shout out to Mike McDaniel. We moving on from that chaos.
Enough on social unrest.
Alvin Kamara whooped someone's ass in Las Vegas.
Man.
It's becoming quite evident that Vegas is a place that NFL players need to stop going to. Shout out to Vegas, great city, we love it. Treats the podcast quite well. But from there, you got to understand that every time they get in Vegas, like you guys are professional athletes. You don't get the same adage. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Like, the cameras is on you, and we saw the film, Alvin.
You really whoop a nigga ass.
Yeah. So I'll say this, like, Alvin, you free him. I hope he gets out. But the story you told and the tape roll on that is very different, man. It's like, you whooped his ass and you went to the club. Shout out to Dre's After Dark, by the way. Hennessy account. We do love that spot. But Alvin Kamara, like, what do you take of, what do you think he's gonna do? Is he gonna get fined? I mean, it's battery, and he did cause some harm, but what do you think his a couple games on a suspension?
Yeah, if we're just talking about Alvin Kamara, obviously I seen the picture of old dude that he put. It looked like he put hands and feet on old dude, and it wasn't only AK that it seems like that put hands and feet on dude, but I don't know. Vegas just seems like a place of toxicity for these young brothers. So especially anybody getting drafted by the Raiders, anybody spending, and he was in there for Pro Bowl weekend, and all that. But I think even like I said, I think Kamara probably has a I feel like a 4-game suspension at least is coming for AK.
So where do you take AK? Got early fantasy football question. With a 4-game suspension, where are you drafting Alvin?
I'm staying away for now. I gotta see what they're doing with their quarterback position for next year.
Okay.
Because if Taysom Hill is there, I'm good. I'm gonna just let the record show that. For that record, I mean, but yeah, Alvin Kamara. Let's just hope he stays out of jail, or he gets a not a bad, or he gets a rap beat for whatever it is. But I mean, let's talk a little bit about this Super Bowl, Raz. Obviously, we've been here, Draft Season Podcast, you guys that A1 content for your head tops. Make sure you guys are following us on Instagram at Draft Season Podcast. We are on Twitter. The YouTube is also Draft Season. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we could talk about it for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Because if you in these streets, these social media streets, you know what I'm saying? Dudes don't like giving us credit. They don't like tagging. You know what I'm saying? At Draft Season Podcast, at Rise Network US, at I Love Sean 5000, at Polo Piffington.
It's true.
These are all of the brands. Tell a friend to tell a friend. But we had the, you know what I'm saying, the humble brag. You know what I'm saying? I might be off the Chardonnay. I'm off a couple
Chardonnays.
Chardonnays.
What's going on right here? 13% alcohol, I think.
I'm good though. If my words start slurring, you can send to me in the comments. But either here or there. But you know what I'm saying? If you saw that, we had the most viral clip from day one of Media Day. Am I wrong?
I would say no, you're not wrong. I mean, we did bring a thoughtful question. You know, and you delivered that question with it was to our good friend of the show,
friend of the show now, Jamar Chase.
Friend of the show, Jamar Chase.
Friend of the show,
close personal friend.
Friend of the show, Jamar Chase. Friend of the show, Jamar Chase. But yeah, we out here at Super Bowl Media Week. Well, I mean, Raz, we out here early. What's been your we still out here. We're gonna be bringing you guys this content all week as we're out here. But you know, what's been your early takeaways of Media Week? Right?
I'll say Media Week right now. The first couple of days, it's a bit light. I will say, in terms of just the people that are here. I mean, I think for any publications or any outlets that's really, you know, doing this independent thing like we are, it's to get here early and start networking. A lot of opportunities out here, a lot of players walking around, a lot of reps walking around, a lot of different shows. So,
out to Jay Jettas earlier, we seen him in the building.
Yes, sir. So I'll say, you know, there's a lot to do here. So it's pretty much a wonderland of media, and like the NFL is still the biggest show in this country, regardless. So you had to know that, you know, if you're gonna be here at Radio Row, you got an opportunity to really connect with some good folks out here.
I mean, so yeah, obviously, let's just talk about obviously Rams, Bengals. You know what I'm saying? We could talk about this for a minute. Both of those teams had a good run to the playoff preview episode we did a few weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? I had it on wax, Bengals in the Super Bowl. My prediction was not perfect, obviously, because I had I had the Cardinals in there, and that one didn't work out well. But at least I had the proper division. But Raz, let's just talk. We'll bring you guys a lot of content NFL wise, so we got some more stuff. We're gonna talk more in depth. We're gonna do a gambling preview. We're gonna get you the props. You got some money moving forward.
I'm not responsible for any losses, though. By the way, let's go with that.
That's on you. But in terms of the Super Bowl matchup, like, what are you making of Rams Bengals in this matchup? I think we're gonna get either way. I feel like we should get an exciting game. I think there is a chance. I'll put it at like maybe like 15 to 20% chance that the Rams D line just dominates and we do not get a good game. But for the most part, all season the Bengals have played. And I think one of the most parts, because it was an off turn. Nobody was saying the Bengals were making the Super Bowl when I did it, and part of me was just like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna say something that's not status quo that everybody else is saying. But when we talk about the Bengals, and for one thing for me, and we talk about what makes them such a good team, but just watching that team, because obviously the Giants are ass. And that team itself, you know what I'm saying, I've followed that team as kind of all through this whole season. And the most interesting thing for such a young team is they won all type of different games. They won ugly games to where Burrow turned it over a couple times. They did not have a good flow towards moving their offense. They won the game against teams that the public considered heavy favorites against them. We're talking obviously Ravens, Chiefs come to mind. They've won those games. They've won the shootout games. They've won games, obviously the game against Tennessee where Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times, and only a special quarterback is winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Right. Go ahead, bro.
No, ask you a question.
No, like I just say it in terms of like not to sound like a broken record when we're talking about Joe Burrow, because anytime we talk about the Bengals, I say that guy is special. And I know the corollary that I made on the previous episode, speaking about Justin Herbert, who also is extremely special. But the scouting that we do on that front, just about like, oh, he has a stronger arm, which makes him the better quarterback. It's not that simple, guys. And I think that's low end. That's very lazy analysis. And when we get into the game, there's more that actually gets into it than just having the strongest arm. And when we talk about all the other attributes, Joe Cool, he sacked him 9 times. He's still getting up. Third down, I know I saw that stat earlier previously, just about like Joe Burrow on third downs and how effective he is. And he's not looking for, what's the most frustrating part about these quarterbacks that can't make plays when the game is on the line? Whereas we talk about 30-8, 30-10, big play, and they're throwing a 5-yard under, a 5-yard drag route. You know what I'm saying? Not even throwing at the sticks. And that's kind of my favorite thing about Joe Burrow, because on third downs, that's where these games are won and lost. So, Raz, what are you making of this matchup? Just quick takeaways. How are you trying to juggle this match, Rams Bengals?
I think it has the ability to be explosive. I think, the last couple Super Bowls, we kind of been robbed of that high entertainment that we really wanted. From the offensive standpoint of things, I think I don't see how each one, like, other to your point, like if the Rams D line takes over this game, that's something to really think about. But I mean, they say fights make matches or whatever.
Styles make fights.
Styles make fights.
Yes.
Whatever it is, bro. Like, I think Joe Burrow and his receiving core, I think that offense is going to be able to move the ball. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a good defense that they're going against, but I think they have the star power and they have the athletes over there to get some traction on there. And then on the other side, Stafford gets to really show what it is in the big game finally, in games that mean something. And we have Odell, we have Cooper Kupp, we have all of the array of other weapons. Shout out to Cam Akers, friend of the pod. But I think he, that team may rely a little bit more on the running game, honestly, in the Super Bowl with 3 healthy running backs. I think that's going to be a wrinkle for the Rams that they may need to go to just to keep the Bengals defense off kilter, and then kill them with Cooper Kupp and Odell. And I think we're gonna save predictions for later in the week. We have to get a lot of content out there.
If you're trying to pop on the show, hit us up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hit me up, hit Raz up. We bringing everybody on. We want everybody's Super Bowl predictions. Drop a comment in the chat if you would like to drop your your official Super Bowl prediction. We're gonna we're working on a prize for somebody who comes closest to that final score on Super Bowl Sunday, and we definitely gonna give out something nice for whoever is out there. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a super interesting game, Raz. I think getting a little more into it, because we also have to touch on some of this NBA stuff
for sure. Woj and Shams active today. That beef is very strong. The first bomb that we got today. The continuing Blazers fire sale. We got a few trades to talk about with the Blazers. I think first we can talk about, the trade in which the Blazers seem to just give up, two good, a good player and a role player. We're not gonna say, NBA Twitter loves Robert Covington more than any player I've ever seen in my life. Robert Covington is decent at what he does, but as a throwing piece, I think you can't take away the value he is, as he's the extra piece. with that team. So I mean, what do you think? What do you think about that trade with the Clippers? You know, how the Clippers were able to put on the black ski mask and acquire those players from the Blazers.
Yeah, I think just talking about that trade for a second. First of all, I'm a huge Norm Powell fan, always have been. I just think that pickup for the Clippers is, I think that's an amazing, just another piece to give to Ty Lue. Ty Lue's I don't think you can name 5 better coaches than Ty Lue in the league right now. I think his X's and O's fill fame. I just think I think even communication with his own players and getting the best out of those. I think he's not gonna win it, but I think Ty Lue deserves some at least coach of the year votes just for getting what he's getting out of that Clippers team right now. With Kawhi's been out the whole season. Paul George has missed probably the majority of the season at this point. He's been out, I feel like 2 months at this point at least.
Yeah, Paul George's been out. You know, I have him on fantasy. He's been out since December. They're saying that the elbow is going to be reevaluated at the end of this month. So it's either going to be surgery or he's going to try and play through it. But I mean, this team has, stayed within the play-in range for the playoffs. So I mean, if they can get a semi-healthy Paul George, somebody who's going to be effective, I think this team is a team that you're not going to be thrilled about playing in a one-game playoff if you're in that playoff range. And I don't think they have the firepower to win without, Kawhi, but they proved us that last year that they could get it done. So, I mean, once they get into the dance, the Clippers can be dangerous, especially you added Norm Powell and Covington to a team that, just needed a little bit more firepower.
Yeah, so I think even just staying on that for a quick moment, I think just we could talk about the Blazers obviously, because the Blazers having just a complete fire sale. I think they're just retooling for the future. Obviously, Dame, for all intensive purposes, seems to be going down with the ship.
Yeah,
it seems like
he's never running from the grind. It seems they're building around the grind.
You can make of that what you would like, but yeah, Dame's not running from the grind. Whether that is the proper decision, the right decision or not, remains to be seen. I think just talking about the Blazers for us. Obviously, Anthony Simons has been really strong for him, really strong for that team. His leap he's made essentially made CJ McCollum expendable at this point. As I think at this point, going forward, obviously Anthony Simons is a restricted free agent this summer, so he continues. If he finishes strong,
they're gonna have to resign him.
I think that's why that was kind of the main initiative of the Norman Powell trade. Free up some cap space. They freed up over, I believe it is, they freed up over $60 million in cap space summer. For what they're going to do in the future.
But they're currently fucking pursuing Jeremy Grant. So if you go out and make a trade for Jeremy Grant, you're gonna have to resign him too. So, and he's already on a contract with the Pistons, is he not? Like he has like a year or two left. So I don't know what you like. If you're gonna build around Dame, Jeremy Grant, and fucking Anthony Simons, I mean, Dame's gonna have to go into the GM office and assault somebody, because that's not going to be the team that gets it done. So, where do they go to in the offseason? Because are they going to now look to use some of these assets to flip and trade and get a star? Because how many stars are you going to convince to come to Portland?
Well, first of all, like Dame has been injured for the most part of this season, and I think that even when he was healthy, he wasn't really playing at his normal All NBA level. I think just in terms of the messed up thing, and I think about this a lot. Obviously, trade deadline is Thursday. We're recording this live on February 8th, which is Tuesday, and the NBA trade deadline is this Thursday. And I think I mentioned this on the podcast. One of my qualms just about my biggest issues with this team and my big issue with NBA teams in general. We're gonna get to the Kings in a short moment, but I think for teams, and as we not to bring up the Wolves and the Warriors trade, but I think that's a pretty interesting trade just to talk about when we talk about just sometimes you can tell shit is not working. I think the Knicks are in that same position as well, where you watch these teams and it does not take long to realize the mix of rotation players, the mix of whatever players you have on a roster is not working.
Yeah.
And I think NBA teams are really afraid. Organizations, they're extremely afraid of making a splash deal to where even in fantasy, sometimes in fantasy, you're gonna make a trade and you might get the lesser part of it, but you're getting what you need.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can sit there and worry about did I win this trade or not. But at the end of the day, you got to worry about did my team become better after making that transaction. I think that's one of the main. If I was running an organization, that's my main objective, and when I'm looking at it. So, name probably 10 to 12, probably half of the league that needs to make major shakeups at this point. So, with the Blazers, at least, the Dame and CJ backcourt, it's been obvious that backcourt has not been working for at least the last 3 or 4 years at least. So, at this point, like they finally freed the people from the shackles of the Dame, Lillard, and CJ McCollum backcourt. And we're gonna talk about the Pelicans in a moment. For the Trailblazers, at least the Blazers. Yeah, like I said, for at least if you had to grade this trade, Raz, what would you give the Blazers for this deal? Obviously, an incomplete grade.
You talking about the Norm Powell trade?
I think at this point, we could put it together because at this point, the official trade was the Pelicans acquired CJ McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell from Portland, and the Blazers picked up Josh Hart, Tomas Satoransky, Kill Alexander Walker, a 2022 first round pick and two future.
Is the pick protected?
I'm not sure about the protection part.
I'll check the protections on it because that's a big part on it. But I mean, just going without it being protected, I give that trade for the Blazers B-.
Why?
Because I mean they get off of CJ's contract, which they were trying to do, right? I don't think they got any better with the trade, but if their plan is,
I mean, they can't really get worse. They're what, like 13th in the West right now, 12th in the West?
But I mean,
11th,
the sum of their parts got worse. Like getting CJ, losing CJ, and adding those pieces, like you're not recreating the impact that CJ's that had. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like obviously that team's been hurt the whole year, so we haven't seen that lottery pick. I mean that trade has to be a C for the Blazers because I think if that pick does not fall in the lottery, you've lost CJ McCullough for Josh Hart basically, and I don't think that works for me.
Yeah, and I think just in terms of for like saying on the Blazers right now and like defensively one, and I think Raz, we talk about just the importance of defense and just like philosophically we talk about these teams, and I think when you're building a roster, you sometimes there's going to be a weak spot at some point, and we talk about lead initiators, point guards usually are guards who usually happen to be subpar or below average defenders, and when we talk about their offensive equity, they usually their value comes from their offense. So there's only like when we talk about the special guards in the league who can really be a strong part of a good offense year in year out. Not a lot of guards that you can really count on for that. So Dame Lillard is one of those guys. Like put the ball in Dame's hands. Dame can get a good shot off whenever he wants at any point. So that's one perspective for that. Now, I think just philosophically, when we talk about it, one of the issues that you have with these teams is it's very hard to hide a subpar defensive point guard and a subpar defensive center. And we just talk about Portland. Portland defensively, and even like they brought in Rob Cove. Larry Nance Jr. is a good defender. Rob Cove has a good motor on defense. Norm Powell also is. He's not really taking off possession on defense. He's a pretty consistent two-way guy. But when we talk about that team, it's really hard to build a team with such a trash defensive backcourt and expect good results from it. So I think they had to bring up the CJ and Dame backcourt at some point, and you know what I'm saying. I think just offensively, those two are extremely good. In another world where the just the high point and the peak of NBA talent and the peak of championship contender teams weren't as high as it is in the league. You're not trying to get to if 50 wins was the bar, the Blazers, they would look at a bunch of these previous seasons as successes, but realistically, they were going up against the Steph Curry Warriors, the James Harden, Rockets. They lost. Who else they lose to in the postseason? But
they lost to the Nuggets.
They lost to the Nuggets. Jokic is their own monster. In that, right? So we talk about these teams. I think just in terms of I'm a fan of Keon Johnson. I don't think he is there at that point. I'm not mad at some of the swings that Portland taking in terms of just extremely athletic guys and home run pieces like Greg Brown, another guy. They bought Keon Johnson is another guy who has upside if Keon Johnson starts shooting jump shots. And I think he is the main, aside from what they're saving in salary, and for the most part, it was a salary dump. I think that is a huge part just for the Blazers. But let's talk about the Pelicans for a moment. Obviously, so the Pelicans picked up CJ McCollum to go along with that core. They also picked up Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell, like I did say. Raz, I think you said to go about the protections. The first round pick will convey to the Blazers if it falls between 5 and 14. If it does not convey, the pick will become a future first from the Pelicans.
Okay, so that would be this year, right? So
not to cut you off, Raz. The Knicks, hometown Knicks tape, Knickerbockers. We're gonna get to them bums in a few seconds as well. The Knicks were also linked to CJ McCollum, but let's talk a little bit about this trade from the Pelicans' perspective, because obviously we've done content in the past talking about David Griffin and some of the poor transactions that he has made. We talked about this team about this year. Herb Jones Hive, Herb Jones fan account, however you want to look at it. Herb Jones had to have a guard for first team all rookie. That's how good he's been. I don't know if he's going to make it.
I don't think he makes it, bro.
But it might. It's not because of his impact. It's not because of his impact. Sometimes it takes some of the national media guys a minute to really catch up to it. But obviously, Zion is still hurt. I'm not expecting Zion to play here. CJ is in his first year of his $100 million extension, so he still has 2 years after this contract. But Raz, CJ McCollum to the Pelicans to play alongside Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, Herb Jones, Devontae Graham, Jonas Valanciunas. This team is starting to come together. I think this team is even they got to an extremely poor start, but I think this team is starting to show the actual signs of being being a team that should be competing against being a team that I think even for as incomplete this team has been without Zion this year, I think this team has also shown the ability to where they play hard for Willie Green, and I'm gonna give that to them. They're not slouches. They're not they're not just bending over and pulling their pants to the side for teams when they're facing them on 2 weeks. So this team plays hard for Willie Green. But what do you make of the CJ McCollum acquisition for this Pelicans squad?
I mean, it gives the Pelicans a big shot maker, other ball handler, and somebody that can get their own shot. They're a team that's full of it. They have bucket getters on that team, obviously with Brandon Ingram. Devontae Graham's up and down, but he's also somebody when rolling that's a bucket. To your point, we don't think Zion comes back this year, but that would be a major piece to that. Joe Lau is also, a force down low. And then we have the miscellaneous wings, like you said, like Herb Jones and all those guys on the team that are able to provide depth for this team. They're not too far out from the 10th seed from what I recall. So I'll say this. I think they're a team that if CJ gets there and it gets rolling and it gets clicking, they're a team that you're not going to get an easy out from them in that playing game if everything's clicking for them. And I think the way Brandon Ingram, when healthy, has been playing this year, he's showing that he's still able to add to his game and get better. We sometimes think about some of these young prospects, that we've compared to greats, like Ingram coming out was getting those Kevin Durant comparisons, and we, on this show always say, like, we got to stop comparing players to to these stars, because when we set the bar that high and they fail, we, now we're calling them bums. Like Brandon Ingram is 20+ points.
Brandon Ingram has, and I think just like Brandon Ingram is he didn't make a, and I think Raz, when we talk about this and specifically with Brandon Ingram, well, I think Zion is obviously the unicorn on that team, and obviously he's not like he's not shooting threes, he's not protecting the rim at a high level. But Zion is the unicorn. There's only one Zion. Yeah. But I think Brandon Ingram, just in terms of a floor consistency on that team. I mean, hold on one time, real quick. Shout out to Brandon, Paulie Pockets in the chat. What's going on, my G? Shout out to Paulie Pockets in the chat one time. But yeah, just talking about Brandon Ingram, and yeah, I think Brandon Ingram as a player and just that consistency. I think this Pelicans team is, like I said earlier, it's starting to come together. I think we spoke about Herb Jones, and Herb Jones has been one of the most consistent rookies on a game-to-game basis. He's pulling out skills that he did not show off a lot, even when he was in college. I'm talking about putting the ball on the floor at the three-point line. He's been making the ball never sticks to her. He's an extremely good player. This Portland team is starting to put up its depth. I even think over these past 2-3 weeks, I think somebody like Jackson Hayes is also starting to come around on the other side, and Jackson Hayes has always had that talent to be a good NBA player. And that's the reason why I think he went 10th in that Zion draft 2019. But Jack Hayes, so they've been playing there at the 4 next to JV and things of that nature. But I think he's also starting to bud and show flashes. So even when they made that Jonas Valanciunas for Steven Adams trade with the Pelicans, we made a video on that, and we were like, all right, this is a little suspect for what is David Griffin doing right now? What is the really their perspective of this team? And I think just in general, one thing that's been on my mind a lot when we just talk about these teams, and Boston is a team that comes to mind. And I think when we talk about positionless basketball, and we talk about being able to find guys who can switch 1 through 5, you can get you a wing who usually profiles as a tertiary, secondary ball handling type of guy, somebody who can, make short side reads, pick and roll. But Raz, the importance of having a point guard who or multiple guards who can control the pace of the game, get their own bucket, get guys involved, that is invaluable when we're talking about the team. And I think obviously you get to your all NBA guys. You have your Currys. You get to the guys like you have Luka Doncic. You get the elite guys, but there's not 32 of these guys just hanging around there who can even approximate a all-star level from a guard perspective and getting your team organized. Raz, we talk about this a lot. This has been that big college teams getting into your offense, getting good shots down the court every time. You know what I'm saying? Not taking 18 seconds to get into your offense to get a good shot. Guys who can get you into your offense at a good point. This is extremely valuable. And for Portland, I think they are. So for me at least, I think CJ is. What do you? And I'll shoot this over to you, Raz. But if we just have to project CJ in New Orleans, and finally, I love the CJ and Ingram fit. That's a lot of buckets. That's a lot of either of those guys. Neither of those guys are selfish. One, both of those guys are like they can get a bucket whenever they want. But those are both good basketball players, and those are both guys who can. They play the game the right way. They're unselfish. They make the extra pass to the shooter when the situation calls for it. But Just that team in general. What is your read on the Pelicans right now? And obviously Zion is the elephant in the room, but what are we making of this Pelicans team right now?
I think as currently constructed, they still fucking suck. I think like you, to your point, they got a lot of buckets. CJ, Ingram, they got presence in the post. Like they're a fun team. They're a young team, and CJ. But this team, they lost a point guard this year due to injury. I still think they need a table setter as a lead guard for that team to really round it out, and then we need to see a healthy Zion. So I think this offseason should be about getting them a point guard to kind of get all of those pieces to fit together and to have a healthy Zion and a Zion that's in shape, and then we can really see what this team is this is the team that was built in Griffin's vision, in his image and his vision. Because if you have Zion with Joval, Ingram, CJ, and a point guard, I don't think there are going to be many teams that want to come into New Orleans and play against you. So I mean, I think from there, we just have to leave it to the off season, because I mean, they may make the 10th seed, they may make the play-in. I don't see them. They can get hot, maybe make it out of the play-in for sure, but they're not going to first series. We have to really like recoup and see what this team does at the end of the year. But moving on from New Orleans, I mean,
I'll talk about Knockbusters today, man.
We got to, but I mean, before we even jump into that, like, we just gotta also talk about that Caris LeVert trade.
We haven't.
That one's like a little less than the docket. Caris LeVert is a 18-point per game scorer going in to slot in with the surprise Cleveland Cavaliers team that I wasn't as high on in the beginning of the year. Just from I had
like Raz, I think we might have spoke about this before, but and I think that was because we had this conversation. I think that's the main part. That's probably the best part of this podcast is like we're not going to be 100% right on everything. Like I took the under on the Grizzlies and the Suns over the win-loss total. And Raz, when we had those conversations, did it seem like I was low on this team? I wasn't low on them. I just took the under.
Yeah, I mean, I was under on the Cavs. Like I had no faith in the Cavs. Obviously I was over on the Grizzlies, but I'm a homer there. But I think with the Cavs, like I think the Cavs.
Paulie Boggins in the chat, he said Sean gave all that love, and Raz was like, "Fuck all that, they still garbage."
Yeah.
He's not wrong, bro.
That's literally what happened, bro. Like I think you gotta understand. Like I mean, I had to see it. I didn't see Jared Allen taking this step this early. I mean, everybody knew he had it. I didn't think it was gonna happen this year.
I'm resident Jared Allen.
Garland also, Garland was one of those guys highly regarded out the draft, but he didn't play much in college, so we didn't have much to deal with. Sexton got hurt early, and Darius Garland has been running with that. Okoro shown flash, and I now where they are in the standings, you're sitting here looking at that, and now they add Caris LeVert, who go to a team need by to attack the rim, and that's what Caris LeVert does pretty well. And he has that mid-range game on lock, so I think he slides right into that 2-3 spot that they need. And now, what are you looking at for their starting lineup? You have a pretty good team, and that's a team where obviously Evan Mobley is out here playing like fucking Kevin Garnett, so that's something we didn't take into account either. Kevin Love is a resurged his career off the bench, and
Kevin Love has been Now we good on you, bro. During that the Olympic team,
they did shit on him during Olympics, and they said they didn't want him. They sent his ass right back to Cleveland or wherever he trains out in the summer. But Kevin Love came into this season, I guess, with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and to finally work for the money that he's getting right now. And I think Kevin Love off the bench, and I think this moves Laurie to the bench too, I would think, right? And then if you're now in the playoffs and you have to contend with Laurie and Kevin Love off the bench, Okoro probably is going to come off the bench. Like, this team has Rondo is on this team. So playoff Rondo is something now that's going to be in Cleveland. So I just think now, like, Cleveland in no way, shape, or form is an easy out. And honestly, it doesn't matter what they gave to the Pacers. The Pacers clearly aren't a serious organization right now. And from there, you just have to, see what the height will be and what happens when Karras gets integrated into this lineup, because I think this is going to be a scary team.
So yeah, we talk about just the trade in general. LeVert goes to the Cavs along with a 2022 second round pick via the Miami Heat, and they picked up the Pacers. That is, they picked up Ricky Rubio's expiring contract, so they get off the Caris LeVert money. They also get a lottery protected 2022 first round pick and 2 second round picks. So we'll talk about Indiana in a second, but just to talk about Caris LeVert for a second, for a moment, because I love Caris LeVert. Like, let me start with that. Caris LeVert, I think aesthetically he is he plays a very extremely aesthetically pleasing brand of basketball.
Yeah.
If you love crossovers, if you love in and out dribbles, if you love get into the Baja, Caris LeVert does all of that for you, and he checks all of those boxes for you. If we just talk about, like you said, extreme, Paulie Pockets in the chat. Shout out to the homie. He says he says he's an upgrade from Sexton. I don't know about that part.
Probably about the same.
But I think from what they lost from Sexton, I think Sexton is a way better shooter than
in terms of what, from 3?
Yes, I think from 3, pull up, spot up. I love Caris, and my thing about Caris, if we're going to talk about him as a player, Caris as an individual player, and like I said, I'm a fan of Caris. I don't root against Caris. I think sometimes the love could go. I think it get a little out of hand, like I think we talk about that 2019 Nets team, and I think that's where a lot of the love for Caris began.
Yeah.
And I watched that Nets team extremely closely, and people gave Caris a lot of credit for. It was the first. I think it was 8-11, 8-14 that Nets team started off. And Caris was the main facet on that team. And it's a very interesting team to think about. In hindsight, obviously Spencer Dinwiddie's having a rough season. But he's another one. Because Spencer and Caris were 2 guys who got a lot of credit.
Ruff is being polite.
I mean, I would have. There's a Dinwiddie conversation to be had in the future. That we could have the Dinwiddie conversation in the future. But yeah, I think about Caris. My thing about Caris is the most important things about Caris is, one, he's not as good of a defender as you want him to be. Now, I think he gets some additional. I don't think I'm not saying he's a defender that's going to stop you from having a good defense. I think getting reunited in the same lineup with Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. You're gonna play lineups with Okoro, those, and even playing besides Garland. I think there's gonna be lineups that are very conducive to success for Caris LeVert. So defensively, that's one thing. 2, I think that, like, for people, I think there's some people who saw Caris as a possible all-star at his peak. And I think Caris' passing ability is extremely high. That's one of his best skills, and I think his passing ability. Somebody's size, about 6'6", he's able to make a lot of interesting reads as a secondary guy. So I think that's something that having a wing who's able to get his own basket and able to the ball doesn't stick in Caris' hands. It's not something I'm worried about as far as Caris is concerned. I'm just in general, when we talk about Caris, I just have more of concern with his shooting ability. He's not really, saying the best shooter. If you pull up his
he probably shoots like 33% for his career from 3, which is serviceable. It's not like he's horrible, but Caris LeVert isn't going to be the person you want spot up shooting anyway.
He's at 32% for this season, 32% on the year. He takes about 5 threes per game. But if he's not, I don't think 32%, 33%, that's not really cutting it if we're talking about somebody as an all-star, future all-star. But let's just say let's say that's out the window.
I don't think they need him. They don't need him to be
an all-star. They need him to play well beside Darius Garland, to play well beside Jaren Jackson. And on that front, I think it's a pretty strong deal for the Cavs and what they're going to receive. That team, obviously has exceeded all expectations beforehand. But what would you grade that trade out for Karis LeVert to the Cavaliers, right?
Cavs get an A-. I don't think it's there's no risk really involved in it. Um, they're trying to improve a team that is ahead of schedule, and they get a player who fits the timeline. So I don't have an issue with that trade for the Cavs. That's an A- for me.
Yeah, I can't trip. I'm probably gonna go. I'm gonna go with a strong B plus for the Cavs. I think this is the type of trade that you love to see, particularly for a young team. You can only build around young players for so long, and the Cavs are for sure one of the youngest teams in the NBA. When we just talk about the amount of guys that they still have on their rookie scale contracts, and guys who are growing. And Karras is going to be able to grow within that team, grow within that organization, and play a role. He's going to be able to get his own bucket. And I think, obviously, he went off these last couple of weeks. He had a 40 burger recently, so I'm not upset at that trade at all. Moving on to the breaking news of the day. This was kind of the most surprising deal of the afternoon, and kind of spurned the emergency pod of the day. We had to bring you guys this content for your head tops. The Indiana Pacers, man, the Pacers in the news, and we're gonna talk about the Pacers for a moment. So obviously the Pacers, we just a clusterfuck of assets, and it's funny, man. Like I said, Raz, just going back earlier to what I was mentioning about teams just hoarding assets, being afraid to make trades, and that's what the Pacers have been for the past 3 seasons. Obviously, Miles Turner's been on the block forever, and we can talk about what this trade signifies for the future of Miles Turner. But for those checking this out on the replay, or for those who have had their head, under a rock, under a pillow all day, the Pacers agreed to trade Domas Sabonis to the Sacramento Kings for a package centered around Iowa State stud, former King at this point, Tyrese Halliburton, taking a huge step this season. Had this conversation earlier just about unnecessarily putting ceilings on players.
Yeah.
And Raz, we did our 2020 first cycle that we really broke down. We talked about Halliburton, and I wasn't low on Halliburton, but if we just talked about upside, did I see him becoming a plus shooter on volume in the second season in the league? I did not. So we talk about the rest of this deal. For the players included Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, and a 2027 second round pick in exchange for Tyrese Halliburton. Shit, they also picked up Buddy Hield, which is like not nothing.
No.
And they also did pick up Tristan Thompson. The Pacers. Yeah, so let's talk about this deal, Raz. Let's talk about just your initial reaction to Halliburton being available. Obviously, we had Woj on. Woj did a Sports Center hit earlier in the day and mentioned that a lot of teams did not know that Tyrese Halliburton was available to be traded for on the market. So let's talk about this, because obviously before we get into the Pacers side of the deal and the King side of the deal, I'm huge fans. Shout out to friend of the show, Jackson Lloyd. Follow him on Twitter, NBA Action with Jackson. Great pod. He had me on the show a couple of weeks ago, and a senator that I mentioned as somebody who fantasy leagues, if I was an NBA team, if I was in front office, somebody that I'd be trying to be still. The Pacers dealt with a lot of COVID related, just excuses and missing in action, MIA. I miss on that team, and obviously there was a game against the Warriors on national TV, TNT game. And my guy Goja Batadze had a great game. Isaiah Jackson, somebody who we spent a lot of time talking about in this most recent draft cycle. Just a switch monster, can defend 1 through 4. Honestly, 1 through 5. There's some 5s who he could probably survive with the giving up some size, but just his ability to move his feet on the perimeter. He's one of those guys who he's so good. He's so elastic as a defender. He's able to contest guys at the 3-point line and block 3-point shots. So let's talk about this trade from the Pacers' perspective first. Obviously, they gave up Domas. They gave up Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday. But me personally, I would have traded Sabonis before I traded Miles Turner. No way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you feel like you have to get rid of both of one of them, you get rid of the one who can't defend. And obviously, Sabonis is a great talent, but I think Miles Turner has the ability to, defend the rim. As we see, he often leads the league in blocks, and I think his offensive potential is still not fully tapped out. And I think he needs, a point guard that goes downhill and gets him a bit more involved. And I've heard reports on via the social medias with people that are close to the Pacers saying that he's happy with the chance to play with somebody like Tyrese Halliburton. So that may signify that the Pacers are going to move on with, going forward with Miles Turner as a part of that core, because he's still pretty young as well. So I mean, right now we're looking at the elephant in the room. Right now, for me, if I'm looking at the Pacers, is you now have Brogdon still. So did you trade for Halliburton to kind of have him in the same position that he was in Sacramento?
Let's just talk about Halliburton for a second. What have you made of his year 2, Raz? Because like I said, every time I watch the Kings, and the Kings are, they're always on those late night Pacific time. West Coast games, but and I mentioned this earlier. It's about like he continually improves. At Iowa State, just watching him at Iowa State, his feel for the game has always been extremely high. His ability to unselfish, ability to get others involved, but just his shooting has been extremely valuable this season, and even with God and in his face hasn't really mattered a lot. What have you made of year 2 Halliburton, and what is your if we have to project him going forward? I think the Pacers just got an extremely valuable pickup for them, because like I said, they have a glut of big men. If they're gonna keep Miles Turner, Isaiah Jackson is a possible all defense type of forward in the league. I think you compare him to NBA Twitter darling, an NBA Twitter boo, NBA Twitter, somebody they love, Nick Claxton, somebody a good guard. But I think we're just talking upside defensively and as a player. I think Isaiah Jackson's upside is even higher than a Nick Claxton, and what he's going to be able to do. So, what do you make of Halliburton being dealt and just him getting to a situation to where he's not going to have to share the ball with 2 other guards who, in a perfect world will have the ball in their hands a lot.
I mean, that's my point to what I was saying. Before that, I think Brogdon's here still. So
they can play together.
They could play together, but do you want them to play together?
I think they fit together extremely well. They both. I think we're just talking about Halliburton and Brogdon together at this point, and 2 unselfish players, 2 players with extremely high IQs, 2 players who both get better on a year-to-year basis. Brogdon has kind of just been on an upward trajectory every year of his season, every year of his career at this point. Both of those guys are they're both big enough to defend 1s and 2s. Both have they're not. I think Halliburton struggles against some of the bigger guys, but I think Malcolm Brogdon, if that is the fit that the Pacers do choose to move along with towards the future, I think just that fit together. I think those 2 guys, I think you're going to be able to have a really unselfish offense. The ball is going to be whizzing from side to side. 2 guys who obviously can't. If you leave them open, they're going to make them pay, just in terms of open shots. And just feeding their big man. I think this trade is a home run for the Pacers, and considering the position that they were in and the options that they could have had on a trade market, I think the Pacers hit a home run on that trade. But I don't know if you had anything else on the Pacers front, Raz, but we got to get to the Kings side.
Now we can jump into the Kings side. I think the Kings making the decision um to move forward with Fox over Halliburton is going to be something that we discuss going forward for quite some time. I think there are people that are NBA Twitter is in love with Tyrese Halliburton this year. A little late to the party you guys are, but I think we may be overvaluing him just a little bit. Like Fox is still a good player. I think
It's been a rough year, man.
it has been a rough year, but it's been that team hasn't been good. It's not like it's just him that's playing bad. I mean, he's still better than most, and I think you've committed to him. Like he could have been the piece that you moved, right? Like you could have moved De'Aaron Fox and maybe tried to get a little bit more. But I think if you're the Kings, you got off the buddy contract, right? You got off the buddy contract, so you're okay with that. I think going forward now you have to figure out what's the move for you from there because you have Sabonis. So Sabonis is clearly going to be somebody that you're going to try and continue to build around with Fox, right? Is Rashawn Holmes in your plans going forward? I mean, because defensively,
No, I think Rashawn Holmes gets moved.
I don't like that team
at the
defensively.
deadline.
Yeah.
He has to get moved at the deadline.
So I mean, but we have to see who needs Rashawn Holmes and who can afford
I,
Rashawn
I
Holmes.
said this to you earlier, bro. I wanted to see Rashawn Holmes. Send him to Charlotte, man. Send him to let him get. I want to see him as my role man in playing with LaMelo Ball. I think
does Charlotte give up for that? Because you're gonna have to make the money match too.
Charlotte got assets. I'll probably give up a Kai Jones. I'll give up a protected first round pick for Rashawn Holmes.
But yeah, you still need the money. You still need the money to match, don't you?
They got I think who do the Hornets have on their books? I know they have.
I mean, they got the Plumlee brother, whichever one. Let's see. Rashawn Holmes, he might not be making that much. He might have not taken the contract he should have. He's making 11 million. He's making 10 million this year, and the highest his
they got
contract.
the. I know they have the Plumlee. I know they got a Plumlee on salary for.
He doesn't need the money. You don't have the money match too crazy right now. And I mean, he's gonna make 12 million a year, so he's fine. So you could probably trade for him straight up if you throw a pick and something else in there. Is that gonna be enough to get him from the Kings? Do you think?
I think the Kings picking up a first round pick for Rashawn Holmes is a pretty damn good deal. Yeah, they have Mason Plumlee on the books for basically $18 million up until 2023. They're also close to the cap. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think if PJ Washington is traded at the deadline, I wouldn't be shocked. I think I continue to be a fan of PJ just as a stretch forward big, somebody who Mr. Renner, of course, aside. But somebody who I still he's gonna be able to shoot the ball. I think he has pretty good the ability to space the floor. I think he's good in dribble handoff situations. And I think the Hornets, when it comes to really maximizing Miles Bridges, who earned his check at this point. Somebody is gonna pay Miles. They're gonna have to pay Miles Bridges. You know what I'm saying? I think they're probably better off coming to an agreement with Miles before he really goes around and really, finds out or checks what his market is around the league. But I think just in terms of what Miles would be able to get, he's going to get a hefty contract. So, are they gonna be invested in PJ Washington in the future?
No, I don't think they will be. But I mean, if you're choosing between Miles Bridges and PJ, you got to get rid of PJ. He doesn't have the same trade value as Miles, so I think that's something you have to take into account. But I think you move forward obviously with the better player, and I think that's Miles Bridges in this instance. But I mean, we've pretty much touched on a lot of that NBA trade stuff. We'll be back with some of that. Obviously, the trade deadline is Thursday. We'll continue coming live to you guys from LA on Radio Row with any Super Bowl updates and any NBA Woj or Sham bomb. So, Sean, you can take this up.
Yeah, man. Now we out here, man. Shout out to the home team, Rise Network US. Make sure you guys are following that Rise Network US Twitter account. We out here, man. But I mean, Raz, while we're on the air, is there anything else that we missed just in terms of pop culture, the culture, basketball, football? I mean, we got some MLB content coming for you guys shortly in the future. Got some really good guests that will be hopping on with me to talk some fantasy baseball stuff in the future. But Raz, what else is going on in the world of, you know what I'm saying, the culture and things of that nature that need to be addressed before we get out of here?
I don't think anything pressing right now. Nothing pressing that we need to bring to them after this one. I think we can play it safe and check out what happens on the social sphere in the next couple hours, and we'll bring that to you later this week. So this we checking out from LA today. We're gonna catch y'all later in the week. This has been the Draft Season Podcast. It's your boy Young Raz. We'll holla at y'all.